I was literally just catastrophizing there. And then my anxiety levels were starting to like rise pretty high because it was one of those situations where you think, if the thing that you think is going wrong is really going wrong, your life is going to be screwed and you're not going to be able to handle it, and it's just going to be too big a problem for you to be okay. And as my anxiety levels were rising, I was like, I need to actually stop catastrophizing right now because I need to make some content, because basically I procrastinated making this content all day and I tried to do 2 videos a week. So I was like, need to actually get some work done. And then I was like, well, why don't I actually just pause on whatever I was going to talk about and talk to you guys about catastrophizing and actually try to make it somewhat relatable, because although this is not something that I suffer with very often, because I can cope with, or I feel I can cope with, very high levels of stress, when something happens in my life where I'm like, oh, that's just a bit too much, I actually can't handle that situation, I realized only actually this year that I have a tendency to go into a state of anxiety that is completely based on hypothetical situation, and that there's not enough facts for me to actually worry to the level that I'm worrying. I think one of the reasons why we catastrophize so much and we allow ourselves to go into such a state of anxiety and worry, where our anxiety like just is beyond what is helpful, is because we all have had situations in our life where we didn't worry and then something went wrong. So for example, 3 years ago when my dog died, I got a message from my dog minder saying, your dog's in hospital. Your dog's like in the pet hospital. And I was like, oh, I'm sure everything will be fine. Didn't worry at all. And then the next day I get a phone call and my dog has died. So I didn't worry on that occasion. So I think sometimes we, on a subconscious level, think that if we worry a little bit more, we can take actions that would change the outcome of a situation. But actually, what I've learned, because I had been letting my anxiety levels go extremely high when the big stuff, or the perceived big stuff, seems like it's starting to go wrong in life, I would just let my anxiety go as high as it wants to go, thinking that that is an appropriate response because I have some small evidence that something could go terribly wrong. But actually, in all these situations, I don't have enough evidence that it is going to be absolutely horrendous. It's like a little bit of evidence, but not the full picture evidence of something actually going as wrong as I think it will. So then the catastrophizing kicks in, and with the catastrophizing comes the worst case scenario, comes the really high levels of anxiety. And then we think that that's going to keep us safe or prevent something going worse, or that we can kind of stay in that state so that we can do something about it. Like we go into this high alert state. But all it really does is make you not be able to sleep at night and not able to concentrate on anything else. And I don't think it actually helps you in any shape or form with your problem solving to be able to rectify the matter. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened 6 months ago. And interesting enough, I'm going through, and this is not what I was catastrophizing about just now. I found a new topic to catastrophize about. But I'm going to talk about a situation that happened 6 months ago, and now I've got the same situation that's starting to happen again. And this time I caught myself and I was like, wait, you have no evidence it's going to go as badly wrong as you think it might go. How about you just don't worry about the situation and just deal with whatever comes up? So 6 months ago, I received an emergency phone call and found out that a property that I own, an apartment, had a major flood in it and the fire brigade had to be called out. And then I had the plumber around and the plumber said that the leak had come from my flat. And then I find out there's been major damage to 5 other apartments in the building. So then I think, oh my God, a leak from my apartment has caused damage to 5 people's apartments. And I don't know if the insurance is going to pay for this or not. And I might be liable. And then over the course of a number of days, I find out that the damage is probably about £50,000 worth of damage to my very little apartment that I own. And then I'm thinking, well, if it's £50,000 damage to my apartment, then I must have caused, not that I did it intentionally, but my apartment's leak has caused 5 other people's apartments to also have £50,000 worth of damage done. So I then just spent a few days catastrophizing, particularly at night. My anxiety levels reached the peak because I'm like, what if the insurance company doesn't pay? I'm liable to basically cover all of those costs. And my whole body was just in this state of complete like meltdown. And I'm sort of trying to calm myself down. It's late at night, I'm in bed, and I'm like, that's a lot of money. Where am I going to find this money from? And I'm just like in this state of, I don't think I can cope with this situation. And like my whole body is just like filled with anxiety. So I'm in such a high state of anxiety over the next number of days that I call my healer around. So I use a Theta healer. She uses a combination of meditation and also quite confrontational techniques. And she's amazing at helping with my anxiety. So I only really call her around in emergency situations. And this is one of those situations where I was like, I cannot handle this amount of anxiety. So she comes around, she does her magic, and she calms me down. I feel completely calm again. And then the next few days go by, and it turns out that actually the leak was not even from my apartment in the first place. It was from my next door neighbor's apartment, and the insurance company covered all of the damage. So what I learned from that situation was there was no need for me to put myself through that level of stress, and that actually if I waited until I found out the whole information before letting myself get to that state of anxiety, the outcome is the same either way. But actually me allowing my anxiety to go that high did not actually help, with anything. So fast forward 6 months later, another property I own, and just a side note, I'm not trying to brag about the properties that I own. The bank owns them. They're heavily mortgaged. But another property that I own has a leak. And I find out the news and I start going into this same state of anxiety. What if the insurance company doesn't cover it? How expensive is this going to be? How am I going to afford it? How am I going to cope with this situation? How bad is it going to get? How am I going to manage with the tenants? Are the tenants going to move out? Am I going to have to pay for their alternative accommodation? How expensive is that going to be? Because short-term accommodation is very expensive in London. And then I just stop and I go, wait, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that the insurance company is not going to cover this. And I haven't even seen the leak myself. There's no point in me catastrophizing to the level that I am catastrophizing. And I actually realized that my plumber has this amazing way of getting very worked up about leaks. I'm not sure if he's had a bad experience or something, but he gets quite panicked when he calls me to try and tell me about the extent of the leak. And it like, he really starts to catastrophize. He like will say things like, it can be so hard to find out where these leaks are coming from. You might need to like knock down several walls. It might be very deep into the ground that you have to dig. And I realized that actually part of this anxiety, because it was the same plumber on both occasions, part of the anxiety actually might be coming from him. And perhaps he's had some situations, because some of the information he feeds to me is quite catastrophic compared to how the situations turn out. So anyway, on this occasion, I actually have no idea if the insurance company is going to pay for this new leak, but it is 6 months later, same kind of situation. And this time around, I'm basically saying to myself, let's just not catastrophize on this occasion. Let's just not even focus on this situation more than I need to. I mean, I called around to the property, did all the practical things, had a look, got some opinions. And now, I'm waiting to do more actions in relation to that matter. But while I'm not working on it and I'm not focusing on the proactive things I can do to address this problem, there is no need for me to catastrophize, because it's not going to change the outcome of the situation. Now, I don't know how I've managed to get to this point in my life where I'm like, oh, wait, let the worry go. Because let the worry go is all very well and good. But when you're in that state of anxiety and someone says to you, let the worry go, that is the last thing that you want to do. So I think one of the things that I have learned is trends in my mind and trends with my emotions. And I think it's really important for me to actually know that I have a tendency to catastrophize when I think life-changing things that I can't cope with are about to go very wrong, but that when I don't have the full evidence, I act like I have the full evidence. And just knowing that I have that tendency has been the biggest thing that's helped me step back and go, wait, just don't do it. Just don't go there. Don't go to that unnecessary catastrophizing. Why don't I just not think about it? And then at the next earliest opportunity, I can start taking actions. And like right now on a Sunday night, that other thing that I was worrying about, which is not a leak situation, is something different. Yes, I will need to take some actions to address it. Yes, maybe there's some stuff going wrong that would be horrific if it goes horribly wrong in the direction that I'm catastrophizing about. But there is not enough evidence that it's going to go as badly wrong as I'm thinking in my mind, because the vision I have in my mind of how bad it can get is horrendous and life would be horrible if that happens. But I don't have evidence that is strong enough to tell me that it's going to go that bad. Maybe it will, but I have to kind of just let that idea go and just use the small evidence that I have. And the small evidence I have is basically telling me, yes, there's something that I need to have checked. It's actually a health related worry, just to give you some kind of context. But yes, I have to get something checked. Will it be as bad as I think? I hope not, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it tonight. I'm just going to let it go on this occasion. So this is kind of a new thing for me, because about once every year, I have something that goes wrong in my life, whether it be something to do with health or business or property. Yes, there's a lot of things in my life that could go wrong because I kind of take on a lot and there's a lot going on. I'm starting to learn that actually when the real stuff really goes wrong, there's no time to even worry when the real factual evidence that's going wrong comes up, because in that state, all you can possibly do is take actions. And all I've ever seen myself doing is taking actions that when the real facts come up that like, oh, this is a really bad situation, I don't actually worry at all. I just act, because you're in such a state of fight or flight in that situation that it's just action, action, action. I had a situation where I had to go to A&E about 2 years ago, and I didn't know at the time, but I mean, it was pretty serious, but I could have died, but I didn't know that I might die in the situation until like a week later. But I remember being so calm because there was no time to worry. All I needed to do was take the necessary actions to get myself into a hospital bed where they carried out a procedure which saved my life. And I think back on that situation and I was so calm. And the reason I was so calm is because there was no space to think about the what ifs, because there was no what ifs. There was, yes, this is a very serious situation. Yes, I need to try to get an ambulance. And actually I couldn't get an ambulance. It was in COVID times, so I had to get an Uber. And then I found myself, just actually in a hospital bed very quickly, because people could see it was an emergency and something was very, very wrong. In fact, I think other people worried a lot more than I did in that situation, because I didn't worry at all. I was just calm. And I don't know, I guess what happens your body in those situations is your survival kicks in and you basically go, you don't think I might die. You think I need to take actions. And I've learned that's the difference between catastrophizing and real life-changing situations, is that for me personally, in real life-changing situations, I am a survivor and I take every action in a calm manner in order to survive. And I've been in a few life or death situations in my life, unfortunately, or fortunately, because we learn gratitude and we learn to appreciate life when we are tested in that way. But actually, all of the times where my anxiety reached that crazy level of like, oh my God, how bad is it going to get? What if? How will I cope with it? All of that stuff was hypothetical worry. And it was never as bad as what I thought it was. And that situation that I just mentioned, where it was actually really bad, to this day, I still look back on it and go, that's crazy. I never really knew it was going to be that bad, but it was bad, and everything was okay because my fight or flight kicked in and I took the appropriate actions, and worry was not part of the equation because there was no space for worry when you're almost going to die. Thanks for watching. If you liked my video and you want to see more of my content, subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below.